start maybe from right. Well, you're left, so we'll give Sarah some breathing space.
Hobbit feet. What?
Cool, yeah, my name's Matthew, and I play the drums and a bit of the keyboard stuff.
I'm Josh, and I have the big keyboard, so probably heard me doing some cool things, but yeah.
Hi, I'm Elisa. I'm the set designer.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and besides performing today, I was also directing and producing the show.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the lighting designer.
Give them another round of applause. So we've got the first question. Hi, firstly, congratulations. That was a wonderful performance, so well done, everyone. And of course, Sarah, on the great, the story behind it. So I guess I'll ask the obvious question. What's your inspiration, personal or otherwise, for the story?
Thanks for the question. So I guess this story is deeply personal and spiritual for me. And one cool thing is that, along with my husband Russell here, we are expecting a child, which is so that is actually part of the journey that I didn't know would be in sync with the show, but works out really well. But I think in my life, I've also kind of viewed different stages, different things I've gone after, with a lot of birthing imagery, and sometimes even feeling like you miscarry or you don't see something into completion that you're really going after or hoping for. There was a word that I used in Italian at the beginning and the end, which is speranza, which is Italian for hope. And I feel like it's a journey for me of having hope, feeling like you lose it along the way sometimes, and then finding it again, but sometimes in unexpected places. And so, I think I was trying to play with my own journey and things that have been speaking to me in my life, and also I think that emotional journey can also be one that people can relate to, whether it's a project or a piece of art that you're creating, or even a loss of a loved one. Or so that's my hope, is that it can be a story that I can present as something I'm working through, but also something that perhaps you can relate to as well.
Hello. Bravo, everyone. That was absolutely amazing. What was the process? Was it a fully collaborative process between all 5 of you, or was it a directional thing, or how did all that sort of work?
Do you guys want to speak a little to the music?
I've been volunteered to speak. Sarah definitely did like a lot of the directing and directional stuff. Music-wise, we sort of just...
Do you want to tell the process of how that worked?
Gotta make me use my memory. Gotta like put it into words. It was sort of like... I don't have words. Yes, please.
Yeah, well, I guess we had, because we had the 2 musicians, well, 3 musicians, sorry, but 2 kind of like background musicians. We tended to play a lot around with different soundscapes, I guess. That was kind of the context for a lot of the music was weird. So you might have noticed we had like a drone kind of going in a lot of the different scenes, and that was kind of like a base. If you imagine like a pizza, that was like the tomato sauce and the base. So that was done using just some synthesizer kind of stuff. And then on top of that, we layered all the extra stuff. Josh did most of the hard work, I reckon, in terms of the music. So actually improvising a lot of the melodic lines and so there was quite a lot of there was quite an openness in terms of what could happen, and it was just about, I guess, us as a three, and then when we got to know Alex and Elisa, just sort of knowing how to honour each other and sort of just work together to produce the sound that ultimately Sarah had a vision for, and
At the beginning, it was interesting because working with different soundscapes and stuff is not something as a pianist I've done before. So it was definitely really nice to sort of be vulnerable with each other in presenting our skills and our knowledge, but then compiling that together to create what you just saw. So it's been a really incredible sort of learning experience for all of us working together, using different methods and different sounds. So yeah, it was a really interesting journey, sort of working out the different sounds and not only what sounds fit, but what sounds can present a different meaning. And with the colour as well, if this scene had a colour, or if this scene had a sound, what would it sound like? And compiling our ideas together in order to make that sound a reality, if you will, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's been a really interesting experience learning how to present emotion through a variety of different sounds. So yeah, it's been a really interesting experience, but lots of fun.
And I guess we started with text, so that was something that was predetermined, and then we used a method called devising. So within rehearsal, we would actually just have long play improvising and kind of record what we did and see what we liked. And then the next time we might use some of that and do something different. But a lot of what you saw on stage today was we kind of had a roadmap, but there was a lot of listening and a lot of kind of internal cueing based on when we thought the moment was right to move on. So it was very much, it was devised, we had a roadmap, but there was a lot of communicating and improvising on the spot. So, yeah. Did you have anything for that question?
Do you
want to tell about your process?
Yeah. With the set, Sarah literally came to me and said, I want you to build a womb. I was like, okay. A womb. But it was kind of more an idea of creating something that felt intimate and that we all kind of felt a part of, and it was, a space that, we all felt very included in. And it was actually a pretty straightforward, easy process, really. It just kind of involved, lots of conversation. Well, not even lots, just a few conversations, I guess. I think you had quite a clear vision of what you were after, but also, I guess, gave your creative team enough space to kind of play and just kind of try ideas, which is actually really helpful. So, it was actually just quite an organic process, but it came together quite quickly, I think, because the vision was really clear.
And I think Alex did a remarkable job with the lighting. It was really fun to work with you.
My process, so Sarah came to a lighting 101 workshop that I did last week here in this space, and that was when she asked me to come on board. And then I just sort of worked through the themes of the piece, that idea that Sarah was talking about of it moving from hope through anxiety, dipping into depression and malaise and working its way back around to hope. So you may have noticed that a lot of the lighting from the beginning to the end sort of went in a cyclical, a lot of it mirrored earlier moments, or yeah, that was my basic idea.
Yeah. And it was really amazing how, like, when we had a meeting, I said, this is kind of the roadmap, and then Alex immediately found all these parallels that I didn't even see, and that was really cool that you're able to find the kind of the mirroring on with each scene. So we had 7 different scenes plus scene 0 at the beginning, the little intro. So that was really awesome.
I just want to say a huge congratulations. I've never seen something so cohesive and have so much creative and collaborative processes between all 5 of you. I'm honestly blown away. I guess my question is, such an interesting musical influence, multiple musical influences actually, from Baroque to electronics, and also a little bit of exoticism. I was wondering what was the choices behind those musical influences and how that actually enhanced the work?
Yeah, really good question. I guess my background is as a classical opera singer. That's what I've been trained in. But I think I've had to come to grips in the last couple of years that that's not the full extent of my interests and musical tastes. And I was really just looking for a place of freedom to experiment. And I love kind of the sounds that we were able to find. And I just wanted to play and merge sounds. And so what was your question? The Baroque, the electronic, and also
A little bit of exoticism.
Yeah, the exoticism. I don't know even how we found that. Do you want to speak to that?
That actually came from, we had one of our little powwow improvisation rehearsals. We just started playing around with using a drone and then sort of vocalizing over the top of that. And from there, kind of that little idea was born. My influence was actually of one of your compositions, so shameless. Just gotta say. Yeah, it sort of just kind of just happened. If anything, what scene was it? Scene
6.
Scene 6. Yeah, it kind of just happened. So we're playing around with sounds and scales and see what worked, and
then the rejoice, the Hebrew.
Yeah, sort of kind of with that Hebrew, the rejoice from
Handel's
Messiah. So kind of instead of focusing on sort of classical element where you pump it through a sound, having that sort of more ethnic sound fit in a different way, but sort of brought it back to its roots. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add to that? Cool. So, yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? I was going to say, is there anyone from that side going to ask a question? So wonderful. Thank you, all of you. It's incredible. It's such a privilege. I think we feel privileged. Well, I do. I feel privileged to be here. So thank you for tonight. And I hope it's not the only night that you perform this. I guess just words of encouragement. My background is in midwifery and nursing and intensive care and being a pastor. So a minister. So everything that you did here speaks to those parts of where I've worked with people. And I just think it's, what a gift to be able to explore those difficult times in life with music and art and God bless you for giving that a go, to find a way of expressing something that we often struggle with our English words, trying to spin a sentence together to explain times like that in our lives. Whether you did it knowingly or unknowingly, I would just reflect on having the earth there and having that being the thing that you return to as a really powerful image of the place where life and death both happen. It's often difficult for people to believe that hope could come again in the very place where loss existed or that was expressed. And that's certainly a journey I've tried to walk with people even in a faith community setting. that space can be a place where you can celebrate and mourn, and in that same community there can be the earthiness to do it all. I think we've forgotten in our Western culture how to be that earthy. So thank you for reminding us tonight that that's possible. And and for doing it so with such gentleness and integrity, but rawness enough to let us remember that this is a serious thing, this hope and grief that we do in life. And we all do it. We all do it.
Thank
So
you,
thank
Kath.
you.
Thank you.
I have a question, and again, thank you. Oh my goodness. What kind of inspired you, Sarah, to take your story that you've lived and bring it here in this way, with the parts that you chose to bring together?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And I guess I just will clarify too that I personally haven't experienced a miscarriage, but I know that a lot of women have, and that it can be a painful process. And I think for me it's a metaphor of life experiences lost, or things that I've aspired to or gone after. Honestly, I think I've received encouragement from people to just start applying and testing ideas. So I had this seed of an idea actually a couple years ago, and then again at the beginning of the year, a friend pointed out these submissions for Brand X's series, The Flying Nun. Shout out to Brand X. Where Alex also actually had a show earlier this year. He did a really cool show. And so when I made the submission, I was like, should I submit an idea that I've already done that I know will work, or should I do something that's completely new and I honestly have no idea how it's even going to work, but I'll take a risk? And so that's what I did. I did the latter. And there's actually a sign outside in the lobby that says "Risk Everything," and I think that sums up the spirit of this series here and what the company is trying to provide space for, and that's to experiment and try new ideas in a place that is safe, and the stakes are low in some ways, but honestly I think this is really where things spark alive. And I think last time I did a production I was like, never again, it was so hard. And this time I honestly came through and I thought, you know what, I could do this again. And I really hope that we can continue to bring this story somewhere else, that this is the start of it. And I really have to say a deep felt thanks to the Brand X team, Ricardo and Paul and James and Aisha, for letting artists like us take risks and to play around with ideas and get the floor dirty and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Oh, one more.
Sorry, double dipping. As an opera singer.
Dude, let's just get it on the...
Sorry. As an opera singer, I'm sure you're quite aware of obviously the tradition and I guess there's a lot of reinventing of operas and whatnot at the moment. How important is new opera or new composed opera at the moment as a performer?
Wow, yeah, really, really important thing to raise. A couple of years ago, I was in Germany auditioning for agents and opera companies, and my goal was to get a permanent position in a traditional opera house in Germany. And I quickly realized that that would not be something that I would like to spend the rest of my life doing. And so at that point, I really made a shift. I know Russell and I had a lot of conversations about what that shift would look like, and I was like, I just decided to start embracing my love for new and experimental opera. And I feel like it's really, I mean, the nature of opera in the past, hundreds of years ago, people might even write a show, write an opera a couple days before it's premiered, and the singers were meant to learn it very quickly, and there's a lot of improvising going on actually. And so I really feel like we're starting to see a recycle of the spirit of innovation, whether we're calling it opera or musical theater or experimental theater or performance practice, or just improvisation, free improvisation. I really feel like that is needed and is starting to come back into culture. So I think it's my hope that we'll see more of that. Whether we call it opera or not, I really don't care. Like, I haven't been calling this piece an opera, but more a show. So you guys can help me define the language that we use and that we continue to use. I think that's something that, as a culture, we need to embrace and talk about and throw around and see what, Kanye might be paving the way for us, actually, with his operas. So maybe we'll see a new definition of the term. But thank you for raising that important question. Do you guys have any input about opera?
Opera, right? It's funny because when doing this has sort of opened up my eyes to a different style of music, which has been really great, actually. Broadening one's spectrum of thought, which has been really cool. It was interesting because when you think opera, you think, big, rad, music. But just something so simple and tender as a few notes, just making such a large impact. Just, for me, I hold in the same regard. So, yeah, whether you want to call it opera, a show, musical theatre, or something completely different,
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter, the label doesn't really matter. So, it's just been really fun to sort of develop a different style and into a new style, which hasn't been explored before. Yeah.
I would also say when you have a voice as big as yours, you don't need a wind machine and moving sets and things like that. You're just like, whoa.
Just need a good pile of dirt, right?
Yeah, pile of dirt.
Good pile of dirt. And I think it's also one of my personal dreams. I feel like this was just a start of being able to see artists and musicians kind of emerge from their classical training and start to talk to each other again in different musical language. I'd really love to see more projects, even on a larger scale, where we're having more singers and more instrumentalists taking risks and stepping outside of their comfort zone in order to improvise and devise new music. And honestly, for me, that feels like a point of freedom and a point of being able to sort of connect and communicate within a group of people. It actually takes more being on the same wavelength, I think, in order to kind of gauge when the other person is going to sing or play or move. And I feel like as a society too, we can afford to kind of zero in and zone in on what another person might be thinking or feeling or initiating. And I know that's done a lot in jazz, and I'd love to see that come back into the music of people who might have a different training, such as classical music, and maybe even merging with other training backgrounds to do more of this sort of thing. Yeah.
I would hope that you'd call it opera, partly because my background, it was in classical and opera. But I think we refer to the style of baroque within it.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you have to hold to all the rules. But at the same time, it acknowledges a training and a style that could be, because to take away the word opera says, well, we can't appreciate that anymore. Whereas what we're hoping here is that there'll be a new appreciation and a freedom. So I would just say I hope you don't move away from
Thank you.
using that classical word.
How did you find the link between performing and directing? Is that something that you've done before?
Ooh. How did I find the link between performing and directing? It was kind of challenging. I've had directors tell me that I should think about directing because I was kind of naturally doing it within a show anyway. In a good way, I guess. So I guess I had to trust my own ideas and my own sort of initiative, or not initiative, but instincts, but also use the use of a video recorder to watch back and see what things looked good and what didn't. And also rely on the feedback and opinion of people who might be in the room or watching. But this process, I mean, it's been the three of us for like a month or so, and then this week really has been the rest of the team. We've had residency here in the space, and we've it's only been 5 days to put this on its feet, and so yeah, what you see here, I mean, we didn't have this to work with, so that like we couldn't get our fingers dirty until really yesterday and today. And so yeah, the directing, I think I've just had to kind of trust a bit that something will come out. But I think that's still, who asked the question? I think that that's something that will continue to evolve. It is a challenge for me, and I'm not sure if it's one that can be perfected. Maybe it can, but I'd love to see me just stay on the other side of the desk for a while and maybe try to work with other singers as well. So just try the directing hat a couple times. But maybe there can be more of a bridge between the directing and performing as I'm getting more used to it. But I also want to just take a moment to acknowledge Eudora Kittamura. Eudora is my friend. She's stepped into the role of stage manager and also assistant director, honestly, this week. She's also been a really right-hand presence in giving me feedback and reflecting back what's working and what's not. So I think having that team member is really, really vital. So, yeah, thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for being part of this conversation. It's really been a privilege to share with you, and I hope that this can be the start of a conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts about how this could look in the future, and if you know anyone who is interested in this sort of thing and would like to be involved in projects down the road, I'd love to hear from you. So thanks for being here, really.